All right, Jeep owners, listen up. You know that feeling when the check engine light pops on? It can be a total mystery. Well, today, we're cracking one specific code, P051D. If that's the code you're seeing, stick around, because we're about to make sense of it all.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. You're just driving along, everything's fine, and then, bam, that little light comes on. And you get that instant sinking feeling in your stomach. What's wrong? Is this going to be expensive?
And then you plug in your scanner, and it spits out P051D. That confusion can turn into frustration real quick. But hey, that's exactly why we're here. We're going to turn that technical mumbo-jumbo into a clear, simple plan so you know exactly what to do.
So, first things first, what in the world is code P051D? Let's break down what your Jeep is actually trying to tell you.
Okay, so the official, by-the-book definition is crankcase pressure sensor circuit high. In plain English, it means your Jeep's computer is getting an electrical signal that's way too high from the sensor that keeps an eye on your engine's internal pressure. Somewhere in that electrical circuit, something is off.
I love this analogy. Just think of your engine's crankcase like a pressure cooker. As the engine runs, pressure builds up, and the ventilation system is like that little safety valve on top, making sure everything stays balanced. It's a whole network of hoses and tubes, but the key player for us is the sensor. And code P051D is pointing its finger directly at an electrical problem with that sensor circuit.
All right, so now that we know what the code is talking about, let's figure out why it's happening. We're going to go through the most common causes, kind of like creating a roadmap to find the real problem.
And here they are, our 5 main suspects. We're going to start with the simplest and most common issues, wiring problems, and then work our way up to the sensor and even the main computer. Let's start the investigation.
Honestly, most of the time, these kinds of codes come down to a simple problem with the wiring. So let's put on our detective hats and start digging into those circuits.
Suspect number 1 is the 5-volt supply circuit. This is the wire that gives the sensor its power. If this wire is shorted out, meaning it's touching another power source it shouldn't be, it's going to send that circuit high error.
The fix here is to just get in there and look. Trace that wire, check its connectors. You're looking for the obvious stuff, any green, crusty corrosion, wires that are frayed, or plastic that looks melted. If you spot the problem, you just have to repair or replace that damaged section.
Next up is a really similar issue. The sensor signal circuit, that's the wire that sends the actual pressure reading back to the computer, could be shorted to that 5-volt power wire we just talked about. This would also, you guessed it, create an insanely high voltage reading.
And the game plan is pretty much the same. You've got to carefully inspect the wiring harness, look for places where those 2 wires might be rubbing up against each other, or maybe a damaged connector is letting them touch. Once you find where the short is, you can make the fix.
Our last wiring suspect is all about the ground circuit. You know, for any circuit to work properly, it needs a solid ground. If that ground wire is broken, we call that an open circuit, or it's just got a ton of rust and gunk causing high resistance, the electricity can't flow right. And that can also cause a high voltage reading on the signal wire.
So to fix this one, you need to follow that ground wire from the sensor all the way to where it bolts to the engine block or the chassis. Your mission is to make sure that connection is clean and tight. No rust, no dirt. A wire brush is going to be your best friend here. And of course, if the wire itself is damaged, it's time to repair it. Okay, so what if you've checked all the wiring and everything looks great? Well, then it's time to shift our focus from the pathways to the hardware itself, the sensor that takes the measurement and the computer that reads it.
You know, it's entirely possible that the wiring is perfect, and the problem is just a bad sensor. Like any other electronic part, these things can wear out and fail over time, and when they do, they start sending junk data back to the computer.
But hey, always start with the easiest fix first. Before you go and buy a new sensor, just unplug it and give the electrical connections a good cleaning. You'd be amazed what a little bit of corrosion can do. If you clean it up and the code comes right back, well, then it's time for a new sensor.
And now we've reached our final and, to be honest, least likely suspect, the Powertrain Control Module, or PCM. This is the big one, the brain of your entire vehicle. And while it's pretty rare, it is possible for the module itself to go bad and just misinterpret a perfectly good signal from the sensor.
Now, this one is usually a job for a professional. The first step is often to reflash the module, which is basically just a fancy way of saying a software update that can fix known glitches. If that doesn't solve it and every other possibility has been checked off the list, then the PCM itself might need to be replaced.
Woo! Okay, we've gone from the wiring all the way to the vehicle's brain. Let's pull all of this together into one simple action plan so you know exactly what to check.
Here it is, your diagnostic checklist. Just follow it in this order. Start with the 3 wiring circuits, the supply, the signal, and the ground. Then move on to the sensor itself, and remember to try cleaning it before you replace it. And only after all of that should you even start to think about the PCM. Following this logical order is going to save you so much time, money, and headaches.
And there you have it. Code P051D isn't so scary after all, is it? We've turned that confusing check engine light into a clear, step-by-step diagnostic plan. Now you have the knowledge to figure this out. So grab your tools, you're ready to tackle this.